In the Stoic worldview, the ego is recognized as both an engine and a hazard. It can propel us toward purposeful ambition, but it can also pull us away from the essence of integrity. In the creative process, ego naturally arises. The moment we choose to write, perform, speak, or build, we step forward into vulnerability, offering our work to a world that may not receive it kindly. The Stoic understands this act not as self-indulgence, but as courage, the will to try regardless of outcome, to express one's voice not for praise, but for truth. However, ego can also lead us to create for the wrong reasons, such as seeking validation or fame, which can detract from the true purpose of our work. Still, caution must be kept. The Stoic does not let ego command the process. There is a difference between a creator driven by purpose and one consumed by applause. While self-belief is necessary, it must not harden into delusion. Fame, likes, reviews, these are fleeting. What endures is the honesty of the effort, the discipline of showing up, the clarity of intent. The Stoic creator strives to keep their hands open, not clenching the outcome, but embracing the process. For it is in the process, not the product, that mastery is found. By detaching worth from result, the Stoic creates from a deeper source, one untouched by failure or acclaim. Whether their work is celebrated or dismissed, their dignity remains intact because their compass is internal. This, too, is a kind of freedom, to act without being ruled by what comes after. To say, again and again, I am not what they say I am. I am what I choose to do, in this moment, with intention and care. This detachment from external validation is not a weakness but a strength, granting the creator the freedom to express their truth without fear of judgment. Within the life of any creator lies a tension between visibility and grounding. To step on a stage, to publish, to share, these acts require a measure of ego. Yet as one artist reflects, ego can quickly slip from ally to master. What begins as belief in one's voice may harden into defensiveness, entitlement, or self-deception. The rejection of evidence over your belief or faith in yourself, they note, captures ego's quiet power, to deny reality in service of self-image. The Stoic recognizes this tendency and meets it with reflection. Belief in one's work must be balanced by awareness of its place in the world. Confidence, yes, but tempered by humility. Passion, certainly, but refined by reason. Creation demands not only boldness but perspective. The artist in reflection also grapples with the myth of the tortured genius. Early in their life, they embraced it, believing that suffering, excess, chaos, even self-destruction, was a necessary gateway to authenticity. But through time, experience, and the sobriety of self-awareness, they dismantled that narrative. The Stoic perspective on this myth is that destruction does not deepen art, it often distorts it. The true path to creativity, the Stoic reminds us, flows from discipline, clarity, and responsibility. Not from frantic highs or glamorous lows. It arises from routine, from focus, from a well-tended life. True creativity, the Stoic reminds us, flows from discipline, clarity, and responsibility. Not from frantic highs or glamorous lows. It arises from routine, from focus, from a well-tended life. To endure and create consistently, one must care for the vessel that creates. Health, structure, purpose, these are not limitations. They are the quiet soil in which vision can take root. This emphasis on discipline and responsibility in creativity is not a burden, but a guide, helping the creator to stay focused and purposeful in their work. And with that comes a broader reflection on legacy, not legacy in terms of renown, but in terms of ethical footprint. What will your work leave behind? How will it live in the minds and lives of others? The Stoic creator works not just for self-expression, but for service. Each word, image, or sound becomes a kind of offering, not to inflate the ego, but to echo something meaningful, enduring, and just. And now let's draw 12 principles for the Stoic. Not simply as prescriptions, but as refined insights that guide a life of steady, creative purpose. Each principle is a quiet anchor, something to return to when the waters of ego, doubt, or ambition rise. Principle 1. Understand the role of ego. Ego is a double-edged force. It can compel you to act, but it can also blind you to the truth. The Stoic does not try to eliminate ego entirely, but instead seeks to understand and manage it. Ego can be the fire that urges you to put your work into the world, to believe in your voice. But when ego becomes the lens through which you view your worth, it distorts both creation and character. You begin to create not for meaning or beauty, but for recognition. You begin to defend the work not for its merit, but because your identity is too entangled with it. The Stoic creator understands that ego must be a servant, never a master. Through constant self-awareness and reflection, they remain alert to the ego's quiet influence. When success arrives, they accept it with humility. When criticism comes, they receive it with clarity. They do not allow ego to anchor them to praise or paralyze them in rejection. Their sense of worth remains internal, tied not to applause or perception, but to the discipline of showing up, the courage to create, and the integrity of aligning action with principle. Principle 2. Embrace the process, not the outcome. In a culture obsessed with results, the Stoic returns to the work itself. Creation, for the Stoic, is not merely a means to an end. It is a daily ritual of engagement, of honest labor, of being present with the process. The value of a painting is not only in how many people see it, but in the care that shaped it. The worth of a book lies not only in its reviews but in the hours of reflection and revision that brought it to life. The Stoic learns to love this work, independent of where it leads. This isn't detachment from ambition, it's freedom from anxiety. When you anchor your sense of fulfillment in the effort, not in the outcome, you gain stability. External rewards may come or go, but the internal satisfaction of having honored your craft remains. The Stoic recognizes that there will always be things outside of their control, trends, timing, and reception. But showing up, working well, and being present remain in their hands. And so, they focus on the day's work. They create, not to reach an audience, but to honor the discipline. This, they know, is reward enough. Principle 3. Detach from external validation. Validation from others is fleeting, fragile, and often arbitrary. The Stoic knows that to anchor your self-worth in such shifting ground is to build a life on sand. Praise can be generous, but it is also fickle. Criticism can be helpful, but it can also be cruel. The Stoic does not reject these voices, but they do not internalize them either. Instead, they return to their own values, their own standard of excellence. They ask, did I do this work with honesty, with clarity, with purpose? If the answer is yes, then no applause can add to it, and no dismissal can take away from it. This kind of detachment is not indifference, it is strength. It allows the Stoic creator to take risks without being ruled by fear, to remain steady through silence and success alike. They are free to experiment, to fail, to revise, to evolve. Their identity is not for sale, nor is it shaped by comment sections or popularity metrics. Their worth is quiet, internal, and unshakable, built not on the reaction of others, but on their own integrity and consistency in the face of change. Principle 4. Create for the sake of creation. The Stoic artist does not create for fame, applause, or gain, but for the integrity of the act itself. To create is to participate in something sacred, the act of bringing order, truth, or beauty into the world through discipline and presence. When the desire to be seen or celebrated eclipses the work itself, the work becomes hollow. But when the act of creation is enough, when the painter paints because the brush feels right in the hand, when the writer writes because the idea insists on being shaped, then the work becomes meaningful regardless of outcome. The Stoic finds freedom in this detachment. They do not ask what will sell or how the world will judge it. They ask only, is this honest? Is this true to my intention? Is this done with care? And by focusing solely on the act itself, they find depth. There is no need to perform, to impress, to win approval. The work becomes its own purpose, its own reward. This is the Stoic's path, to create with virtue, labor in alignment with purpose, and release the work into the world without grasping for what it may or may not return. Principle 5. Face adversity with resilience. Adversity is not a sign to retreat, it is the training ground of the Stoic. The creative path is filled with friction, rejection, misinterpretation, delay, silence. The Stoic does not expect ease. Instead, they train their mind to endure difficulty without losing direction. Every obstacle becomes an invitation, not to collapse, but to sharpen. When a manuscript is turned down, a song is overlooked, or effort seems unseen, the Stoic does not spiral into self-doubt. They step back. They breathe. They return to work. Not because it is easy, but because it matters. For the Stoic, resilience is not just toughness, it is flexibility. The ability to absorb the hit, adjust the stance, and try again with grace. This strength is not built in grand gestures, but in small, steady choices, to revise, to continue, to stay curious. The Stoic does not take adversity personally. They see it as the friction that polishes the work and the character behind it. Each setback becomes a step forward, not because the world says so, but because they refuse to let discouragement decide who they are or how far they'll go. Principle 6. Practice discipline in your craft. Discipline is the scaffolding upon which true creativity is built. The Stoic does not wait for inspiration to strike. They show up, consistently, whether the muse whispers or not. They understand that brilliance is not born in a flash but is shaped through habit. The sculptor sharpens their chisel. The musician runs scales. The writer meets the blank page. Day after day, they train not just their hands, but their mind. Discipline is not drudgery, it is devotion. A sign of respect for the craft, the audience, and oneself. It builds momentum, trust, and fluency. It transforms a vague ambition into a practiced form. The Stoic honors the process more than the product, and so they keep working, especially on the hard days. When others stop, the disciplined creator continues. Not because they are extraordinary, but because they have made a commitment. This commitment is quiet, humble, often invisible, but it is the source of everything lasting. The Stoic does not chase novelty. They dig deep. They show up. And over time, this daily devotion transforms effort into excellence and labor into art. Principle 7. Embrace the present moment. The present moment is the only canvas the Stoic creator truly owns. The past is memory, the future speculation, but now, this exact moment, is where creation lives. The Stoic does not dwell on past praise or past failure, nor do they become lost in fantasies of what their work may become. They bring their full attention to the task at hand. Whether crafting a sentence, shaping a melody, or sketching a form, they engage with what is here, right now. In that presence, they find clarity. Distractions dissolve. Doubt quiets. The work deepens. Presence is not just focus, it is reverence. It honors the process as something sacred. Even the smallest act, a brushstroke, a paragraph, a note, holds significance when performed with full attention. The Stoic trains the mind to return, again and again, to the moment. To resist the pull of comparison, the drift of anxiety, and the weight of regret. What matters most is not how much time is available, but how completely one inhabits it. In the present, the Stoic creator is not chasing the work, they are in it. And that immersion is where both peace and progress are born. Principle 8. Cultivate humility. Humility is the anchor that steadies the Stoic artist amid success and failure alike. It reminds them that mastery is a horizon, not a destination. No matter how far they've come, there is more to learn. Every audience, every critique, every mistake becomes a teacher. The Stoic does not let applause inflate the ego, nor does silence deflate their worth. They hold both outcomes lightly. Humility is not the absence of confidence, it is the presence of perspective. It says, "I'm still learning." It listens before it speaks. It accepts feedback without defensiveness. The Stoic creates not to be the best, but to be better, more honest, more precise, more attuned to what matters. They acknowledge their influences, their debts, and the shoulders upon which they stand. They do not posture or pretend. They do not seek to dominate the conversation, they seek to contribute to it. And through this posture of humility, they become more trustworthy, more receptive, and more enduring. Because in a world of bravado, The quiet steadiness of humility is not weakness, it is strength wrapped in awareness. Principle 9. Learn from others, but stay true to yourself. The Stoic creator draws from many wells but drinks with discernment. They are open to influence, but not consumed by it. Inspiration may come from mentors, peers, or even rivals, but they filter it through the lens of their own values and voice. They learn techniques, examine styles, and adopt disciplines, but do not copy. They integrate. They adapt. They honor the lineage of their craft without becoming lost in mimicry. The Stoic knows the difference between learning and abandoning oneself. Their path may be shaped by many, but it remains uniquely theirs. In an age of imitation, staying true to one's creative DNA is courage. The Stoic does not chase trends or dilute their message for approval. They remember that what is most needed in the world is not more of the same, but work that is unmistakably honest, personal, and necessary. They study with humility, but create with autonomy. And in that balance, they craft something rooted and original, a voice refined by influence, but forged in the fire of their own inner convictions. Principle 10. Maintain balance in life. Creativity thrives within a well-tended life. The Stoic does not sacrifice their health, relationships, or rest in pursuit of their craft. They understand that burnout masquerades as dedication but leads to emptiness. Balance is not laziness, it is sustainability. The Stoic creates rhythm in their days, space for work, time for silence, connection with others, and care for the body. They know that neglect in one area breeds noise in others. When the mind is cluttered or the body is depleted, the work suffers. So they build their life like a well-composed piece, each part supporting the whole. Balance doesn't mean doing everything, it means knowing what matters and honoring it fully. The Stoic is vigilant about energy. They learn to say no. They protect the silence where ideas are born and the stillness where reflection sharpens clarity. Their creativity is not chaotic, it is integrated. A life in balance does not limit the artist, it fortifies them. It becomes the ground from which powerful, lasting work can grow. The Stoic sustains not just the art, but the one who makes it. Principle 11. Accept imperfection. Perfection is a ghost the Stoic does not chase. They understand that no work is flawless and that waiting for the perfect version often means never finishing at all. Imperfection is not a defect, it is evidence of humanity. The Stoic releases the need to polish endlessly, choosing instead to complete with honesty. They embrace rough edges, knowing that vulnerability often resides in the unvarnished details. The Stoic creator does not use imperfection as an excuse for laziness, but as permission to be real. Every mistake becomes part of the record, part of what makes the work distinct and sincere. They remember that striving for excellence is not the same as obsessing over flawlessness. One leads to growth, the other, paralysis. To accept imperfection is to say, this is the best I could give, with the time and clarity I had. It is an act of courage. It is what allows the work to be finished and shared. In a world addicted to polish, the Stoic's embrace of imperfection becomes not a limitation, but a mark of authenticity. Principle 12. Pursue wisdom above all. Wisdom is the guiding star of the Stoic life, and in the realm of creativity, it illuminates both the path and the purpose. The Stoic does not create merely to impress or to entertain, they create to understand, to clarify, and to grow. Wisdom transforms the creative process into a deeper inquiry. Each idea becomes a question. Each project is a dialogue with the self and the world. The Stoic asks not just, what can I make? But, what do I now see more clearly because I made this? In this pursuit, failure is no defeat, it is a chapter in a lifelong apprenticeship to truth. The Stoic creator does not cling to what they've already done. They stay teachable. They seek feedback not to defend their ego, but to expand their view. The goal is not to be right, but to be more aware. Over time, this pursuit of wisdom shapes more than the work, it shapes the soul. It cultivates patience, depth, discernment. For the Stoic, creation is not just output. It is a transformation. It is a path not toward fame, but toward insight, and toward becoming someone who lives, works, and speaks with clarity and meaning.